Max from Aha. I'm going to take you through to my favorite London spots. It's not going to be one of those trips you're going to want to forget. I mean, remember. So this is Linden Gardens in Notting Hill. So this is where we spent our first few weeks trying to put a band together. This was before Morten was part of the band.
We were totally blue-eyed, and there was no doubt in our minds that we were going to be huge, you know.
I took odd jobs just to keep us afloat. I worked as an unskilled laborer, highly unskilled laborer, and I ended up working in the pub down the road. Okay, Sasha, what are you having? And generally thought that we were on our way.
Thinking back, you think, wow, we had a lot of setbacks and nobody really liked much, you know, for a long time. But it didn't really, I don't think it really sinked in, you know. We
were so passionate about music growing up that there was just no other way of thinking about your life. However long it took, whatever happened, this was what we were going to do. We moved away from Notting Hill, Queenswood, this whole area, to the cheaper place at Dalgarno Gardens so that we could afford to stay here longer. This is it. Number 18, Dalgarno Gardens. The back of there is where I rammed Morten's head through the window. You got to see the window. It's been fixed.
I remember the window in one particular explosive moment.
There is where Morten's head came crashing out after we were actually just wrestling in the room.
And I was just hanging halfway out of the window looking down into the garden from second floor.
He split that wooden thing with his head, and all the glass came crashing down.
It didn't hurt or anything, it was just kind of fun. We really had no money. We had so little that we were shifting one light bulb from one room to the next.
Well, I mean, it wasn't ideal, but it worked for a while.
Every week we were certain that next week, obviously, something amazing was going to walk in the door, you know.
And we spent the last money that we had looking at studios in Melody Maker and finding Rendezvous Studios because it had shitloads of equipment. We didn't have any equipment. I think that's it. Yeah, there it is. That used to be Rendezvous Studios. This was owned by John Ratcliffe. He was the first to actually put his money where his mouth was. And we had free access to the studio all night. So most of the songs were demoed here. We didn't really go into this for the success to begin with. Success was a necessary dream.
They kept saying for years, like, oh, when you get famous, it's going to be so busy, you're going to wish for this time. And we were going crazy waiting for something to happen. But then they were right. When it did happen, it was just... It's important for me in life, we're not 20 anymore. You know? I want an album that reflects what I'm thinking now. You know, I want something that I can say, yeah, this is where we are now, you know.
The album, the songs are undisputably Aha. Yeah. Nothing is keeping you here.
One of the things that we lost a little along the way, which I always thought was a shame, was that since we live, Paul lives in New York, I live in Norway, we don't live in the same country, we don't speak every day, we don't kind of throw ideas around in the same way. So I wanted to just say, okay, let's do it like the old days. Let's sit together, work together, write separately, but combine the songs or write together. Let's try all the things the same way we did when we used to live in the studio basement together.
It's taken quite a long time doing many different things before it lands where it's landed now.
We have a tendency to kind of reset everything at the beginning of every album and then kind of agree that this one's going to be different process-wise.
On this album, we sort of went back to a little bit of our roots. Our first 3 albums are more of a technology-based records.
If you use technology to get a result, it's fast, it's a little bit more throwaway. You can say, you know what, it doesn't really work that well, let's try something else.
Which was easier said than done, because there's a long time since we've been doing like programming stuff. And back then it was so crude, you know, the technique was so different, you know. We used to sit with a tiny drum machine. Compared to today, it's like completely Neanderthal, you know. For example, Shadow Side on this album, that to me is a Nordic sound. It's like it moves through all these kind of chords. Some people think they're sort of dissonant or discordant, you know.
I don't want to let myself descend to the shadow side.
But I mean, we grew up in a Nordic country. We have a strong affinity towards nature, towards romanticizing nature, towards art forms that have that in it. So I don't know, a Nordic sound, yes, I think there is such a thing.
When a chord is it's not correct, it's a little bit out of the surrounding. It's not the one you expect, you know. And the same way with yeah, like Mother Nature Goes to Heaven, you know, the chorus isn't like a typical chorus would start with a high note and it sort of goes like every other song goes. I'd much rather have a chorus that sort of, it takes you along, it evolves, it doesn't give you that note that you think you're gonna get, and it sort of brings you along for the ride.
The result doesn't